Welcome to another episode of What Would You Do? So let me give you the scenario, the context, and comment below with how you would have responded. Okay, so I wake up one morning, I'm laying there in bed, and I hear these noises outside of my house. I'm thinking, okay, it's the neighbor, maybe they're doing something. I'm half asleep, and the noise keeps happening. It sounds really close. I'm like, wait a second, that sounds like it's just outside of my door and then my window and maybe my backyard. This is really odd. So I got out of bed, put on a pair of pants, and I peek outside. And this strange man who I've never seen before, lower mid 30s, I'm guessing, he is walking down my driveway. He comes up to me and he's like, uh, "Sir, I'm really sorry, but I don't know where I am, but I need some help somewhere. I don't have any ID on me. I'm not really sure how I got here." And I'm like, "Huh? What are you doing? You don't have any idea. You don't know who you are. You don't know your name." "No, I don't know who I am. I don't know my name. I think a friend of mine just sort of dumped me here after getting me really drunk or messed up on drugs or something." "What?" And then he says, "This happened to me last week too. I actually spent the night in your backyard last week and also last night. I just spent the night in your backyard. And I don't know what to do because I don't know who I am and I have no ID on me." So let me give you more context as to what you would do. Some of you might have an answer already, but hold off until you got that answer. So I live in uh, a really nice residential single-family home area. So some neighborhoods, they're around bars and they're in particular kind of neighborhoods where it's maybe kind of common or semi-common for people in a drunken stupor at bar time to be walking across or maybe even sleeping or passing out on people's lawns. That's not this neighborhood. I live in a really good neighborhood that does not have any of that stuff. So this is really extremely unusual. Um, so I'm just asking simple questions. If you think for a moment, can you remember your name? Where's your ID? Where do you come from? Where do you live? He didn't know any of this stuff, and he asked me, "What year is it?" And I'm thinking like Back to the Future stuff. It's like, you don't know what year. It's 2023. Does that ring a bell? Uh, and then I decided the president is Biden. Does that ring a bell? Does that help jar your memory at all? None of this stuff. And he's like, I don't know what to do. So here's what's going through my mind. Part of me is like, I really want to help this guy. So I didn't get mad at him, wasn't yelling and so forth. I wanted to help the guy. But another part of me was like, wait a second. What if this guy is putting on an act and he's just sort of casing the joint? Because when he said he was here also a week ago and he slept in my backyard back then, and also uh, today or last night he slept in my backyard, it's like, that's really, really weird. And even if you minus that still, what if he's sort of casing the joint because he's going to come back and rob it later? I have no idea. And I'm like, okay, well, this presents a problem because if you don't know who you are, where you come from, you're not going to go anywhere and you're just going to be hanging out in people's backyards, sleeping on their driveways or whatever. The only thing I can do for you is I can call the police. He interrupted me and said, "Yeah, I've talked to the police and they don't do anything. They don't do anything to help." And I'm like, "Hang on. You're trespassing on private property. If I call the police and tell the police that some strange man is sleeping in my backyard, they have to come out and collect you, and they will take you away, and hopefully they will help you. That's the only thing I can do to help you." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense." And of course it makes sense because the police aren't just going to let somebody sleep in somebody's personal private property. It's just not going to happen. So I called the police, 911. I did it in front of the guy. And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a guy sleeping in my backyard. He's hanging out on my private property, but he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know his name. He's asking what year it is, and he has no ID on him at all. I need someone to come out here and help this guy find his life. And then in the meantime, he can't be sleeping in people's properties." And so the operator at the 911 dispatcher got a cop out there. So a few minutes after the 911 call, a police officer shows up in his car. And it's hit or miss with the police, right? So the police officer did a great job. So props to the Kenosha Police Department, this particular officer. He came out and immediately just defusing, calm, cool, did nothing to escalate. Because that was my big concern. Anytime you call the police in this country, that's a real concern. It's like, oh God, what if they escalate? But no, this police officer did a really good job. So props to him. Asking questions, memory triggering kind of stuff, or memory jarring stuff. And eventually the guy remembered his name. It's like, yeah, I'm Daniel. And then there was a car that drove by, one of those picker cars where like they got a bunch of stuff, and it was a truck, and their truck looking for things put on the curb that they take and probably refurbish and sell. So pickers. And somehow that triggered his memory about maybe possibly who dumped him off in my backyard, possibly twice, 2 weeks in a row. So the police officer is writing down information as he's collecting it from this person. And about maybe 5 minutes or so talking to the guy, asking him questions, the police officer says, well, for now, let's get you off this man's private property. And I don't remember what else he said, but basically took him away, put him in the backseat of his car, didn't arrest him, didn't put him in cuffs or anything like that. The cop seemed genuinely interested in helping this guy. And I'm like, yeah, protect and to serve. That's what it's supposed to be. Because so many times we see it's something different, like to solicit and ticket or to escalate. But no, this cop was a good example of what a cop should be, you know? So I was really happy to see that. So they drove off. He's in the backseat of a cop car, not arrested, not in cuffs or anything like that. I sincerely hope this guy remembers everything eventually, comes to and gets the help that he needs. I'm guessing he was messed up on drugs. It wasn't just alcohol. There's got to be drugs involved there somewhere. I wouldn't doubt it if he's on parole for something. I don't know, but I hope the guy gets the help that he needs. And also, I hope I never see him again, at least in my yard. I don't want to see anybody in my yard who's not invited. When somebody shows up on your private property and they're not invited, if we lived in a world that was crime-free and there were no nefarious actors out there, it wouldn't be a big deal. But we know that there's a lot of harmful people, a lot of violent people, a lot of thefts and so forth. When somebody who is not invited just shows up on your property like that, you have to be on guard. But at the same time, you don't want to overdo it. You want to be curious and find out, who are you? Why are you here? You know? And at some point, if things were to go awry, when do you respond and how do you respond? But thankfully, this was all, the guy had a peaceful demeanor the entire time. He had nothing on him that I could tell, like a weapon or whatever. And the police officer showed up, didn't escalate. He was very good. So this turned out pretty well. And hopefully it continued to turn out well for this person, Daniel, by way of figuring out who he is, where he comes from, and getting whatever help he might possibly need. I'm guessing some detoxing of some kind. That was really bizarre and potentially very scary. And by the way, this did not just happen. This happened about a week ago. I just haven't made a video about it yet. But yeah, comment, tell me what you would have been thinking, how you would have responded, if it would have been differently than mine. If you have a critique for me and how I responded, please feel free. Because believe me, when I was talking to him, I might have been very friendly and I wanted to help, but I was also very much on guard because I have no idea. So hopefully I never see this guy again, but I wish him the best. All right, looking forward to reading comments, insight, and so forth. Thank you. Mwah. Bye for now.